Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Sky Lila Experience with your podcast host, Sky Lila. Chatting with Sky Lila today. So it's myself, and I. I wanted to explain how Master Mindset started. First of all, what is it? It's a personal development workbook that I created, which is broken into 4 parts. First, awareness. Second, dreams and goals. Third, bridge the gap. Fourth, game plan. So basically, the strategy is 1, where are you right now? Just the awareness of where you are. There's lots of reflection that goes on. And then 2, really why it all began was dreams and goals. What are your dreams? It helps you discover what is it you actually want to do with your life. Like, what excites you most and how could you make money from that? Because in reality, the majority of us need to make money, and ideally you want to do that doing what you love. So how do you do that? Second is bridge the gap. So it's figuring out, what do you need to do? What's the roadmap basically from awareness where you are now to your dreams and goals? And then the fourth is game plan. So it's putting that into daily routines and habits and strategies to take you from here to there. That being said, yes, there's lots of exercises to help figure out your goals and strive for what you're going after, but also to remind you to be present and enjoy where you are while you're working on your dream. You know, for a high achiever, I find it's easy to focus on what we don't have, what's lacking, what we haven't achieved yet. But how can you strive for more while enjoying every moment that you're experiencing right now? Because life truly is just a series of present moments. So how it started. Okay. Basically, I'll start from the beginning. It's never really just a timeline, because there's always tons of components that add to something, that snowball effect where it builds and builds and builds, and then it just starts running on its own. So, okay, when I graduated university or high school, I went to university, Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario. It was great, but I was miserable. So I dropped out after the first year. The school was great, absolutely loved it, one of the best schools in the country. But I didn't know what I was doing. I just felt like I was wasting time, and fortunately my parents could pay for it, and I was wasting their money. And I'm not one to waste time or money, so even if it wasn't mine, it was like I know they don't necessarily have it, but they're making it work. And I don't know, it's just kind of, like, I don't see the point. Yes, I'll get a degree, but what do I get a degree in? And 2, what do I use it for? And 3, fortunately, I grew up in an environment where my parents were very supportive and very healthy. So tons of fitness activities, eating clean, they never really drank. We were privileged, and I had a car that I could use. I could use my parents' car so I could get around. Then I went to university, and everyone is going absolutely buck wild, drinking, doing drugs, partying. Yeah, working hard if they were working hard. I don't know, I assumed they were. They were all really smart. But I just, it wasn't for me. I didn't... How do I explain it? I'm not a huge partier. Never have been. Never will be. I literally never went through that phase. I did a little bit because I thought I should, but never because I wanted to, just because I thought my friends are doing that, I should probably go out with them and keep my friends. Otherwise I have no friends because I'm just at home doing the things that I like to do all the time. So I started going to yoga a lot, and I did really learn actually how to work out at Queen's. I had a guy friend, and he taught me, he took me to the gym and taught me weightlifting. So I spent 3 hours a day in the gym, because school's only a couple hours, max 4 hours of classes and lectures, and then some homework, but that's really not a lot of time. I didn't have a job at the time, so I didn't know what to do with the rest of my time, so I just worked out and went to yoga and I'd run, but it was so bloody cold. You had to put spikes on your feet just to run on concrete. Like, I love running in the mountains when it's winter and there's snow on the ground. This wasn't snow. It was like, gotta watch each step, otherwise you'll break your ankle and, I don't know, your neck or something. So that was my experience. I mean, it was fun, but I really don't care to party all the time, so that's not fun for me. So it really wasn't that fun, actually. So I dropped out. It was so scary dropping out of university. I grew up in an environment where everyone goes to university and the majority go away. So the fact that you are dropping out and coming home, that was really scary. But I just knew it wasn't for me. Unfortunately, both my parents are high school dropouts and have done quite well for themselves. So they were like, don't worry about it. We see you have drive. We see you have ambition. We know you work hard. Like, come home. We'll figure out the next step. Don't think that you need a degree to be successful. So I thought, okay. And I've always wanted to go back to university. I still do. I'd love to get a PhD just because why not? But I haven't really been in one location long enough to commit to 4 years of going to school there. And also, it's just not my priority right now because I've been building a business, hence master mindset, and a bunch of other things along the way. So at school, while I was at Queen's, I've always been really into health, and I found my friends were asking me all these health questions, and a lot of them I didn't know the answers. But for some things, you just say, oh, I don't know. But I found I would never say I don't know. I would spend my time researching to figure out the answer to let them know because I was curious too. And I remember sitting at my desk thinking, oh my God, if this was my homework, that'd be so much cooler. I'd love that. So I really loved health and nutrition. So my mom said, I found this holistic nutrition school. It's a 1-year intensive program in Vancouver. And I thought, fabulous. Okay, I'll do that. So it was a 12-month program. I learned, you guys, so much more in 2 months at this school than I did an entire year at Queen's. It just made sense. I also think everyone should study nutrition because, like, the one common factor between everyone is our physical body. And you need to understand how it works. So I didn't realize at the time, but I was building my foundation for life. I did think, okay, I want to be a nutritionist. This is just so fascinating. I learned about every aspect of nutrition and health and psychology of disease and biology. And when I was doing biology there, oh my God, it was so cool. I literally dropped out of biology in grade 12 and switched to my sciences because I didn't think it was that cool because I wasn't learning about the human body. Once I started learning about the human body, I'm like, whoa, this is insanity. Like, just so cool. I eat so clean and I still eat so clean. Like, I had a date right now and that was my kind of treat. But it's still all natural and healthy. But when you understand how food is broken down into the body and it literally rebuilds your cells, like they say you are what you eat. But when you can actually see it in your mind, how you become what you eat, then you just start to eat a lot cleaner because I don't want McDonald's making up my cells. I want vegetables, and I was a vegetarian for a long time, and I just started eating meat again. Anyway, so that was the first chapter. Did that. Super cool. Then as I was, getting into it and thinking about the career part, there's so many more aspects. I didn't really like the case studies that we did where, I didn't want to sit with somebody and talk about their digestive issues for an hour. Like, I just wanted to provide knowledge and help people better their lives, not necessarily kind of do the behind the scenes work. So as I learned more, that school was 4 days, Monday to Thursday. I mean, I also had jobs throughout this whole process. I've never not had, I started my first job when I was 14, so I've been working since 14. So even throughout school, besides that 1 year at Queen's, that's probably why I was a little bit bored because I wasn't working either. So I'd work, but I had Friday, like the day, basically off, and I found myself just wanting to work out all day. Like all day. Go to the gym, go for a run, hike up the mountain, go to yoga. The only reason why I just not do it is because I had other things to do and I needed to eat and I needed to sleep. But otherwise, I just loved fitness. It's just so great. So I really explored with my diet that year. And I found I was most fascinated by sports nutrition and how can foods better support you in your performance. Also, that being said, when I was helping people with their diet, it was so frustrating for me because they didn't really want to eat healthier. They just wanted to look better, maybe feel better, but mostly just like look better. So then I also, there's sort of two parts here. One, my passion for fitness. Two, I've always just wanted to help people. And it's like, how do I help them the most effectively and most efficiently? Well, maybe they'll eat better, like to support their fitness as they see more results. Because nutrition, I feel like you don't necessarily see the results that much without training. They go hand in hand. But also, scratch that, you do. But if you're working on, say, organ health or something like that, you don't necessarily see a physical change, but you are getting healthier. Okay, so then I became a personal trainer and I went to training school. Loved that. Did that for years. Became a yoga instructor. Loved teaching yoga. Because basically, while I was doing all this school and working and doing all my fitness, I thought, there's just not enough time in the day to do all the things that I want to do. Like, basically, what can I eliminate? Nothing really. So how can I make what I do for work what I enjoy for fun? So if I could spend the day in the gym, love that. Just tell people how to train, love that. If I could go to yoga and just talk out loud, but still do it too, love that. So that's what I did. And then throughout the gyms that I went to, I had one beautiful mentor, Shelly, and she needed a spin instructor. So I was like, okay, sure, I'll take a spin course. So I started teaching that too. And then I realized spin wasn't for me. I felt kind of guilty because everyone in the class was way stronger and faster and better than me. And I was like, this just isn't really authentic. I'm not super thrilled. And I feel insincere teaching it because this isn't really my choice of exercise. I'm just doing it because somebody asked me to. So I stopped doing spin. And then I moved to Australia. I worked as a personal trainer and all the fitness stuff over there. Absolutely loved it. And as I was doing that, I felt like life was really good, but it wasn't really purposeful and super fulfilling. I felt, again, like I was wasting time on my career. Like I was holding myself back. I'm so grateful for that experience. And maybe I sort of self-sabotaged a little bit because I couldn't believe that lifestyle was real life because it's so different than North America. Everyone is so balanced there. They're so fit and healthy. It's just the grind and the hustle is not as intense. It's more like your day-to-day is just enjoyable as opposed to working for 50 weeks and then, taking 2 weeks off. There, it's just a lot more balanced. But I wasn't used to that, so it felt like I wasn't working, even though I was fully working. I literally got 3 jobs within the first week because I also didn't really have a lot of money going there. Which my sister and my aunt laugh at me because I think I had like $200 in my bank account when I booked my flight. But I thought, I'm never going to be ready. I got to just go. Like, I need to just go and I'll figure it out when I get there. And it was fine. I made so many friends, had the best time, traveled around. And after a while, I thought, okay, I don't know, I feel like I should be doing more. As this is all happening, kind of in the external world, everything that I just talked about, internally too, when I was in nutrition school, I noticed, so I'm an artist as well. I paint professionally, like fine art. And I found there was a year when I wasn't super creative. I just couldn't couldn't decide what to paint, and I get stuck with it because I'm such a perfectionist. Or even drawing, wouldn't do a drawing if I didn't know what I was going to draw, and if I didn't have time to finish the whole drawing, if I didn't have to do it perfect. So I thought, okay, I need to just build and practice my creativity muscle, strengthen that muscle. So I made this exercise, and I used one of my sketchbooks. Basically for a year throughout nutrition school, I thought I just need to scribble, even just scribble, like draw something, but don't hold yourself back from drawing something. If you can't think, set an alarm for 10 minutes, no less, no more, put on some music or a video and just draw whatever it is. So after a while of doing this, I noticed I started to listen to motivational videos as I would do it, and I loved it. It was so inspiring, and that's really when Master Your Mindset started. It was throughout this time, but I didn't know it started yet. It was only after a year when listening to all of these world-renowned speakers, motivational speakers, and them giving you exercises to do, not physical, but, kind of purpose-wise. I would write them down, or I'd just sketch them out real quick, or I'd write down or draw little words. Like I remember they're like, you gotta have the fire in your belly, and I drew a little girl with a fire in her belly, and all these motivational things, and tiny little exercises, and just quotes that were so inspiring. And I would do those exercises, and then I'd put them onto a bigger piece of paper, or I'd be reading books. I love reading, mostly self-improvement, personal development stuff. And whenever there's a book, I'd always get a piece of paper, write it down. But I thought, I don't know, I'm not really in the mood to get my notebook out right now. Like, I'm reading before bed. This is different. I need to be sort of, active for this. So some exercises I wouldn't do. So I thought, and that was behind the scenes of why I thought it needed to be a workbook, so that you're intentionally working, like you're prepared to work, not reading a book, learning, and then you got to get something else out and write it all down. So throughout this year, bringing it back to 2015, 2016, when I was in nutrition school, my friends who first judged me for dropping out, so fair, I'm sure I would have judged me too. But after, they're like, wow, Sky, you seem so happy. And I said, well, thanks. Like, actually, I'm doing all of these things, like for my mental health and figuring out what my goals are. And they didn't really want to do it, but at the beginning, I would get my friends' sketchbooks for their birthday and then write a few of the exercises inside of it, like literally with my pen, and give it to them. So it sort of started off, and I thought, if I could just have a book of everything I'm doing and give it to people, that would be so much easier than having to rewrite it every single time. And also I could just give it to so many people. So that's when the idea started. So as I was doing that, I scanned through all my sketchbooks and thought, okay, what can I make from what I did over the past year? How can I create an exercise out of that? Or, if the book said something, because they didn't necessarily tell you how to draw it out, but I'm very visual. I hope you're following along. I wish I had maybe this should have been a video so I could show you. They'd say, okay, things like empty your bucket. What is it that goes inside your bucket? Life, stress, school, relationships, work. And what are the faucets that help you relax to empty your bucket so that your bucket doesn't overflow? So these are the things that I would hear. But because I'm so visual, I needed to draw it. So I drew out a bucket and I put the things that stress me inside of it. And then I put running and fitness and baths and family and friends, and the faucets coming out. So for example, that's one of the exercises where there's a literal bucket and then you write inside of it and then you write outside of it. So that's sort of how it started. I would hear these tools and then I'd see it in my mind's eye and then I'd draw it out for myself to help myself. Or planning my day, my week, my month, my year. All of these suggestions that people give you, I'm like, I need to see it and then follow that. So that's how it started. So first I started with, in my sketchbook too, the ideas. It was like, well, just make a book, and that was too big, so I had to break it down. So as I was still doing all that life stuff, moved to Australia, I was slowly kind of building this idea, but without realizing what it was yet. Now I'm kind of bouncing between timelines here. Okay, moved to Australia, came back. I had always been doing Art Vancouver event management, probably since 2015 the whole time. It just wasn't like the entire, management of the company. Before it was, you build up. So marketing, newsletters, social media, eventually managing interns, then the whole team, then every department. So that's been building as I'm still always in some kind of other school. Like right now I'm taking a sales and marketing course again, so I can learn more about the perspective of sales. Bring it back. So ADD, but like this makes sense to me. Okay, so then, great. So no, this ties together actually. So as I was building this little workbook, I thought, okay, I'll start with 30 pages, just get 30 pages. One, what are the ideas for the 30 pages? Then what do they look like? Then how do I design them one, on paper, and then two, on the computer, graphic design. So I knew one girl from high school. She knew how to use InDesign or whatever one of those programs were. So I traded her personal training sessions for her to work on my book, because I didn't quite have the money to pay for that extra service. When you're building your business, you're kind of just like paying your bills. And building a business is expensive. So I did that for a while. And I've had people help over the years, but I also have just had to learn how to do it on my own, because only I can see it. I did luckily actually, so I incorporated my business. It started as personal training and physical health type stuff. I don't know, 2019 or something, 2020. Maybe just before COVID or during COVID. Super scary. Holy shit, you guys. Like opening up a business bank account, and just like at the time, like a $5 fee every month is freaky, because what if you don't make $5 that month, like business related stuff for what you're doing on the side? Not even not make it, but it's like you don't want it to just wither down while you're just trying to build something. So whatever, I'm like juggling all these things on the side. I'm actually hearing myself talk about it. I'm really proud of myself. I'm doing it. And so, okay. Came back from Australia. Oh yeah. So that's when originally I wanted to move to Europe in 2019. I was ready to go. I thought, okay, I just came back, settled down for a bit, and then I'll go again. And then my cousin passed in July of 2019, and I was just an absolute wreck. My entire family was. It was the worst experience of my entire life. I'm still recovering, as you know. I talk about it quite a bit. I've learned to live with it, but sometimes it just hits, and it's so bloody hard. Oh, it's so heavy. But it also gives me the most joy, because I know how precious life is. So that's also where I get my extreme sense of presence and just energy and drive. I've always had it, but I feel like it really escalated when she passed. So then I got into a relationship, loved that man. Thought we were going to get married. Well, not really, but like a little bit. Sorry. And so then I forgot about moving away. And then COVID hit. And then it's like, well, no, you can't travel. So I thought, okay, well, I'll focus on acting and my business and my work, Art Vancouver, personal training, my actual painting. So I'm juggling all these things at the time. Then COVID was a couple years. I was just building my business throughout that, focusing. So by then I had shifted away from personal training. I stopped personal training, I think, when I got maybe 2020 or 2019, something like that. I wanted to help more people, more than one person at a time, which group classes too, I did that, but that is so exhausting. You can't do that many throughout the day. So all of these components, I thought, I need something that, because I love working, but I'm just physically exhausted. So how can I just use my mind and use my body for me, maybe do some fitness stuff? That's kind of why I got back into acting, because I did a commercial when I was 9. I made 10 grand in a day. And I thought, if I had that kind of money now, that would be so helpful. So I got back into acting. I didn't really pursue it that much. But acting classes are so powerful. I highly recommend everyone does an acting class. It absolutely changed my life. Best therapy, best everything. That taught me how to public speak, which is what I do now, opening Art Vancouver and with my workbook in schools and corporate environments. So I feel very comfortable. I've spoken in front of 3,000 people, which is funny because before I'd think like, wow, that's so much. And now I'm like, I want to do 20, 50, 100,000 people. Like, that's nothing. So that's why I reminded everyone this morning, recognize your track record. Like, you're doing great. You are where you once wanted to be, and be proud of that. So I'm always juggling a ton of things. And the past year or two, I've been really trying to actually take so many, because I just love to do it all. I love everything. And I think, well, if I could make money doing all of these things, then like life's just great. And it never feels like I'm working a day in my life. But I had too many things on my plate. So I thought, okay, I got to take something off in order to focus, because all the successful people that I hear is really basically focus and consistency are the two words that they say the most. So what can I take off, or so I looked over my goals and I thought, okay, my business, I'd love to be in Forbes 30 under 30. That means it's kind of closer up. Acting, I can always be successful in acting. That's more just because I find it fun and I love the art of acting. I think it's really fascinating and just, it's such an interesting practice and art, really. But I also was a little bit nervous about the attention. Like, you don't really want to be famous. Like, maybe some people do, but once you're famous, like, you can never go back and have that kind of privacy. So I always sort of wasn't too sure, and I think that's what held me back too, of like really going for it. And then I realized I was sitting with this, ex-boyfriend at the time, and we were eating a bagel outside, rosemary rock salt bagels. And there had been so many instances when I was just so grateful that there were no paparazzi around, because I just knew at one point at time, at some point in my life, that won't exist anymore. And it wasn't even that, because I remember thinking about it so much, like, do I want that? Do I not want that? And it's like, I don't even think it's my choice. I think that's just my path. I think that's something that I actually just have to accept, that I will be known publicly and work with it. So I found I never was like yearning to be famous. I definitely don't. But there's this knowing, which I know now, it's through my book, it's through public speaking, helping people strive to reach their goals and focus on their health and live their best life possible. It's that way. Maybe acting in the future, I don't know, but it's for being me and sharing what I'm most passionate about. But it was so fascinating I don't know, do other people think that? Have you ever been so grateful that there's no paparazzi around and you're just enjoying this moment by yourself? I don't know if that's a regular thought or not. Please honestly respond to this. Let me know if you've had that thought or if you haven't, because I asked my dad, I said, Dad, did you ever want to act? And he was like, no. So I thought, oh, okay. That means I can't give it up. All the things that I want to do are a gift to me that I need to pursue. I don't think you're given, like a musician, I've never wanted to be a musician. So the point is, if you want to be a musician, then you need to try your hardest because you have that thought. If it wasn't your purpose or aligned with your purpose, you wouldn't have that thought. So that's what I guess I struggle with most is because I have all these thoughts and then it's like, oh man, I know I got to try my hardest at them. Like, damn, I got a lot going on though. Okay, so I weighed out all my goals. This is sort of like in tandem with after writing down all my goals. And I thought, okay, well, acting, I can push, I can do that when I'm 50 and still do really well. And it's important for me to do well at everything because, it's fine if I don't, but I at least have to strive to do the best that I can. Because that's just who I am. Even though sometimes I'm like, whatever, good enough. But, so in this time too, okay, so then we're going back to the girl that I traded personal training for help with my workbook. So we designed at least the first thing, and then I coached that through the interns at Art Vancouver. When we had interns in the summer, I would manage them, and I made it part of the program of the couple months to do a 6-week, basically goal-setting personal development session where, and I think it's really important for corporate environments and companies to do this, which is what I loved about Lululemon, is they help you focus on your own goals too. So then, one, you can either tie it back, see if it's aligned with what you're doing now. Great, how can you grow within the company or not? And if it's not, then how can you pivot and shift and try something new to see what is more aligned with your goals? So I started doing that, the 6-week program for about, I'm still doing it. I guess, I don't know, it's been quite a few years now. 5, 6, 7 maybe? Maybe not that, 6 years maybe? So I do it but so we're a nonprofit organization, so we get a lot of grants actually throughout the whole year, so we'd hire tons of interns throughout the whole year, so each kind of new group I'd do it, not just in the summer, but it's just shorter programs. And each time that I learn from testing it with people and how to explain it better, because I ideally wanted, yes, I'd love to coach everybody through it, but I want this to grow so far beyond me that it's impossible for me to do it on my own, and that teachers will teach it or people will just do it for themselves. So I wanted to make it so clear that you didn't need me to explain the image on the page, but the words part are difficult. It's like I can talk, no problem. Well, maybe not no problem, as you can see, I'm all over the map. And yeah, so I did that for a few years, started just making it better and better. And this was while I was at Art Vancouver. I'm still with Art Vancouver. It's kind of a family affair, so I'll never not be with Art Vancouver. And I do love what we're building. And also then I started trading people paintings to help me, because I knew I didn't have that much extra cash, but I could provide more value through a painting than through a couple $100 in cash. Like I could give them, at least a couple $1,000 or a couple $100, depending on the size or whatever it was, of artwork that I know. I was just thinking about it this morning or yesterday, actually. Somebody, a few people bought my tigers at like $1,000 or $1,500, even a couple $1,000. But now it's like I would not sell that for $1,500. It's just so much more valuable. My tigers were really good, honestly, you guys. And as an artist, I've got a decent resume for sort of, if you're kind of not in the art world, really your art, honestly, is good. Yes, at the beginning, people buy it because of skill, but eventually they buy it because of your name, and it's an investment. And it's funny to see how my artwork has shifted too. I feel like at the beginning, I felt like I had to maybe prove even to myself like my skill level, which I did. I feel like I'm confident in my painting abilities. Now I do a lot more abstract stuff, and I sort of just explore with what I can create from me as opposed to replicate. And yeah, so anyways, I got a good artist resume. So that's that. So I trade people paintings. Honestly, sometimes I'm like, damn, I gave so much more value in that painting than this one little thing that this other person did. But great, I'd way rather provide more value than undervalue. So kind of back to 2020, or 2021 or 2022, I don't know, throughout those couple of years, living in Vancouver, thriving, really focused on my business, master mindset. I got a grant for my company. I got to hire 3 employees, which was awesome. And one girl, shout out to Coco, my first employee ever, she totally understood me, and it was perfect because she just got what I was trying to explain when, there's nothing, when you're designing a book, because then it went from 30 pages of kind of my, whatever I had drafted and attempted it in design, and she redid the whole thing and added however many more pages because I had drafted them, but I didn't really quite know how to do it digitally. And we started with the cover, and as I was doing this, I'm still running Art Vancouver, so I actually had Coco sit in the gallery / office, literally on one side of the room, and then the other side was the Art Vancouver staff. So it was so fascinating, and I felt like I was just one half of the room, my mind would think about this, and the other half of the room, my mind would think about that. And then I got a little pop-up gallery of my own, my first little gallery office. It was so cute. It was like, at the time, I'm expecting waterfront views in my office, and I just had to remind myself, Sky, you gotta start somewhere. So we're in this basement gallery, and I had my art up, and at this point 2 employees, and then it was just across the hall from the other gallery. So I'd walk back and forth, like trying to manage both teams, because I still work with Art Vancouver and manage those people, and I love doing that. But I also, had my own employees now. So that was really cool. And by this master mindset's like been printed, I've sold it, and we're working on it again. In the past couple of years, I've had some other people. Rain, thank you so much for your help too, and in adding new aspects to the book. Just the tiny little things. So the point is, way back when, there's tons of points, but my mom was like, you just got to start, like just print it. You won't know until you're doing it. Like, you can't see the end of the path. You can only see the first step in front of you. Like, you have to just take the step. So that's really helped me my whole journey of recognizing I will grow as I grow. There was a thought. Oh well, that one slipped my mind. So that's really how it started. That was the whole journey. Okay, I remember the thought. I remember when I first dropped out of university and I was going to nutrition school, and I was trying to figure out what I want to do with my life. And I was like, Mom, I don't really know. And she was like, well, you gotta tough love on me. She was so tough. There were some nights I literally would be crying, and I'm like, I just don't know. And she's like, you gotta figure it out. Like it doesn't just come to you. You have to find it. Like, you have to figure out what you want to do with your life, because it's so scary when you're finishing school and you're like, oh shit, this, like, my life is mine now. That's why it's so easy to get a job and just do what people tell you. And that's great if that's how you are. That's great. I am a divergent. I am just so not that type. School was so difficult. I hated it. My friends, I bless my friends in high school. Hannah, she was so helpful with all my English homework, because writing was just not my thing. But then when I started writing blogs and writing things I was passionate about, people would be like, oh my God, you're such a great writer. And I thought, really? Like, I didn't get such a good grade in English. I thought I was a poor writer. And it was like, well, I wasn't writing what I was passionate about. Okay, so now we've been doing Master Your Mindset in corporate environments. I spoke in a school twice, for 2 years, teaching it, one-on-one with people. People buy it on their own, and I still support them. And so exciting, you guys. I am hosting a retreat at the Fairmont, in the Whistler Chateau Fairmont. Not just me, there's a few facilitators, but I get to teach yoga, cold plunge and breath work, and Master Your Mindset, my workbook. How incredible is that? Which is literally exactly what I wanted to do and what I have been doing, but kind of juggling it all. It wasn't all tied together yet. Now it's tying together in that aspect, which is why my mom would always tell me too, every step is a necessary step. It's a stepping stone. It's a ladder. You don't just fly to the top. You have to climb. But if you stop, then it's easy to just drop. So you can't stop climbing, but just one step at a time, where it's like, okay, I stopped teaching yoga for a while, but I still love teaching it, but I didn't like doing the regular classes anymore because I wanted to travel and it was just too challenging to keep that consistent schedule. So it's more of like a one-time event type thing. Same for cold plunge. I started doing that years ago for myself and my health and my mental health. And throughout COVID, we had a whole group. I literally went in the ocean for 4 years by myself throughout the whole year until somebody wanted to join me. Besides my boyfriends at the time who didn't have a choice, they had to join me. Peace and love to you all. Eventually in COVID, we had a whole group and it was a Sunday routine and we loved it. And now I'm getting paid to do that. And not to be like, that's what it's about. But my point is, you can do what you love and help others do the same and make an income from it. So that's the story of how, basically my life story, but how the workbook came to be. But they're so intertwined. You can't separate it because it just evolved as I've evolved, and it continues to evolve. And I even still have had to be like, stop adding pages, just start making notes for a second book. Like, this one's done. You could fix a few words here and there, but this one's done. Maybe change the cover if you want, but stop changing the content or adding content, and just, this is it. This is volume 1. So I started volume 2 with the ideas as they come to me, as I learn and grow. But Master Your Mindset is really a beginner's guide to build your dream life and live it in this present moment. Because you're working towards something, but you can also feel so happy and enthusiastic and grateful in the present for where you are. DM me. You can buy it through my website. I am here to support you the whole way through. It genuinely will change your life. Like, I love it. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. I love you.